The night smelled faintly of roses and rain. A warm summer breeze carried through the lavish rooftop restaurant where the city skyline glittered like 1,000 diamonds. Every detail had been meticulously planned. Soft golden lights, violins playing in the corner, candles flickering across tables set with crystal glasses. And at the center of it all was Ava Monroe, the older sister, the one who'd always been the careful dreamer, the planner, the girl who did everything right. At 27, Ava was the kind of woman who walked into a room and owned it without saying a word. Her long dark hair spilled in glossy waves down her back, and her emerald green dress shimmered like it had been stitched from the night sky itself. Across from her, holding her hands with a trembling nervousness that Ava had never seen before, was Ethan Carter, her boyfriend of 5 years, the man she believed would be her forever. His chestnut brown hair was slicked neatly back, his suit perfectly tailored, but his eyes, oh those eyes. They were soft, uncertain, almost fragile in that moment. Ava thought she knew why. She thought it was nerves. Until he reached into his pocket, knelt on one knee and held up a small velvet box. The world blurred. Gasps echoed from surrounding tables. Ava's hands flew to her mouth as tears sprang to her eyes. "Ava Monroe," Ethan said, his voice steady but his jaw tight, "you've been my best friend, my anchor, and the woman who's seen me through everything. Will you marry me?" Her heart soared. The violins swelled. She nodded, whispering, "Yes, yes," as he slipped the diamond ring onto her finger. It was perfect. Too perfect. The kind of moment Ava had dreamed of since she was a little girl. But what she didn't see, what no one saw, was the flicker of hesitation in Ethan's eyes as he looked past her, just for a heartbeat, toward the restaurant entrance. And standing there, watching with a frozen smile, was Sophia Monroe, Ava's younger sister. The beautiful one. The bold one. The sister who had always lived in Ava's shadow. But tonight, the way Ethan's gaze lingered on her, Ava's world unknowingly began to crack. The Monroe family home was alive with celebration that night. Champagne bottles popped. Their mother fussed over the engagement ring, squealing, "It's bigger than mine ever was." Their father clapped Ethan on the back, declaring, "Welcome to the family, son." Ava should have felt like the happiest woman alive. And she tried, oh how she tried. But something gnawed at her, a memory she couldn't shake. That glance. That hesitation. It was Sophia who unsettled her most. At 25, Sophia was everything Ava wasn't. Fiery, magnetic, the type of woman who didn't walk into a room but stormed into it, demanding attention without asking. Where Ava was emerald elegance, Sophia was ruby fire. Tonight, her crimson dress hugged her like a second skin, her laugh was too loud, her smile too knowing. Ethan couldn't seem to stop noticing her. At dinner, when Sophia made a joke, Ethan's laugh rang out just a little louder than necessary. When she brushed her hair behind her ear, his eyes flicked toward her like a moth to flame. And Ava, sitting beside him with a ring still warm on her finger, felt a chill crawl up her spine. Later, as the party died down, Ava found herself standing on the balcony, the city lights twinkling below. Ethan joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. "You're quiet," he murmured. She forced a smile. "Just overwhelmed. It's a lot to take in." He kissed her temple. "I love you, Ava. You know that, right?" "I know," she whispered. But in her heart, something whispered back, "Do you?" From the living room, Sophia's laughter floated through the air. Ethan's head turned slightly, almost instinctively, at the sound. And Ava knew. The first crack had appeared. 2 months later, wedding preparations consumed the Monroe household. Dresses, venues, flowers, it was everything Ava had once dreamed of. But now it felt more like duty than joy. She caught Ethan's eyes on Sophia too many times to count. Once in the kitchen, where Sophia leaned against the counter sipping coffee, her robe slightly loose at the collar. Once in the garden, where Ethan helped Sophia carry boxes though Ava was standing right there. And then there was the rehearsal dinner. It was supposed to be Ava's night, a toast to the love story everyone admired. But as Sophia raised her glass, her voice laced with playful sarcasm, Ava noticed Ethan staring, not at the toast, not at the champagne, but at Sophia's lips. That was the night Ava couldn't pretend anymore. After the guests left, she confronted him. "Do you love her?" Ava's voice trembled, her hands balled into fists. Ethan froze. "What?" "Ava, no. Don't. Answer me." Silence. Then finally his eyes dropped. "I don't know," he whispered. Her world shattered. The wedding day arrived under gray skies. Ava stood in her gown, lace, pearls, everything perfection, and stared at herself in the mirror. But the reflection didn't look like her. It looked like a stranger wearing happiness as a costume. When the music began and she walked down the aisle, her heart pounded not with joy but dread. Ethan stood waiting, handsome as ever, but his eyes kept flickering to Sophia in the front row. Every step Ava took felt heavier. Each one carried the weight of betrayal. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Ava swore she saw Sophia's lips part slightly, as though she wanted to speak but didn't dare. And when it came time for Ethan to say, "I do," his voice cracked. His gaze darted towards Sophia again. That was all it took. Ava's chest tightened, her breath caught, and suddenly she knew, this wasn't her wedding. This wasn't her forever. Before anyone could stop her, she stepped back, shaking her head. "I can't," she whispered. Gasps echoed through the hall. Her mother cried out. Sophia shot to her feet. And Ethan looked relieved. The silence that followed was deafening. The scandal spread like wildfire. Guests whispered, family argued, reporters sniffed out rumors. Ava locked herself in her room for days, the engagement ring abandoned on the dresser. When she finally emerged, she found Sophia waiting in the kitchen, guilt etched across her face. "Ava, I never meant for this to happen." "You didn't mean it?" Ava's voice was ice. "You didn't mean to steal glances? To flirt? To let him fall for you?" Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. "I didn't ask for it. But he chose me, Ava." The words sliced deeper than any blade. Months later, Ava walked alone along a sunlit pier, the ocean breeze tangling her hair. She had left the city, the house, the memories. Life had broken her, but not destroyed her. She learned something through the pain. Love built on shaky ground can't stand. And though Ethan had chosen Sophia, Ava chose herself. Her phone buzzed. A message from a new number lit up the screen. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Your friend Claire said we should meet sometime. Coffee?" For the first time in months, Ava smiled. Maybe she hadn't lost everything. Maybe she had just found her way back to herself. And as the sun set over the horizon, Ava whispered to the waves, "This time I choose me." Ava hesitated as she stared at her phone, Daniel's message still glowing on the screen. It had been months since she had felt anything resembling curiosity or warmth toward another person. Her life had been filled with long silences, broken only by the crashing of the waves outside her rented seaside cottage and the steady tick of the clock reminding her of passing time. But something about the message felt different. She had met Claire briefly during her time volunteering at a local women's shelter, a safe place where she tried to pour her brokenness into helping others. Claire had been kind, observant, and gentle, the type of friend who listened more than she spoke. When Ava had once mentioned her love for quiet cafes and handwritten poetry, Claire had smiled knowingly but said nothing. And now here was Daniel. A stranger, yes, but also, maybe a new beginning. The cafe was tucked away on a cobblestone street, the kind of place that smelled like freshly ground beans and carried the quiet hum of jazz playing faintly from old speakers. Ava stepped inside nervously, smoothing her simple linen dress, a stark contrast to the glamorous gown she once wore to galas and family parties. She wasn't that woman anymore. Daniel stood as soon as he saw her. Tall, broad-shouldered, with kind brown eyes that seemed to study her without judgment. He wasn't polished like Ethan. He didn't wear arrogance like an expensive cologne. Instead, there was a warmth to him, like the comfort of a blanket on a rainy day. "You must be Ava," he said, offering his hand. She shook it, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. "And you're Daniel. Claire talks about you," he said with an easy smile. "Said you're the strongest woman she's met in a long time." The compliment caught her off guard. Strength? That wasn't how she saw herself. She saw scars, heartbreak, a woman who had been left behind. But hearing it from him, a stranger, somehow made it feel real. They ordered coffee. They talked. And for the first time in months, Ava laughed. Not politely. Not to hide pain. But genuinely freely. Even as Ava felt the stirrings of something new, her past refused to vanish quietly. News traveled fast in the city she had left behind. Sophia and Ethan's engagement had not blossomed into the fairy tale they had imagined. Rumors of arguments leaked out, Sophia accusing Ethan of comparisons to Ava, Ethan's family whispering that Sophia had been a consolation prize. The perfect facade crumbled under the weight of stolen choices. One evening, as Ava walked home from the shelter, her phone buzzed. The name froze her in her tracks. Ethan. Her heart clenched. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Ava?" His voice was low, tired, almost desperate. "Can we talk?" Memories crashed over her. The betrayal, the humiliation, the night her world had split apart. "No," she said firmly, though her voice trembled. "There's nothing left to say." Ava, I made a mistake. I don't know what I thought. But I can't stop thinking about you. About us. She closed her eyes, tears pricking her lashes. Once, those words would have been her salvation. Now they were poison. You chose her, Ethan, she whispered. And in choosing her, you lost me. She hung up. Her hands shook, but for the first time she felt powerful. She had survived without him. She no longer needed the man who had broken her to validate her worth. And somewhere deep inside she realized she was finally free. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel became a constant presence. He never pushed, never rushed, but offered companionship like a steady hand on a storm-tossed boat. Together they took long walks by the ocean, exchanged dog-eared books filled with underlined passages, and built something Ethan had never given her: trust. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the horizon gold, Daniel turned to her. You're different, Ava. Most people hide their scars, but you wear yours with grace. I don't know your whole story, but I'd like to. If you'll let me. Her throat tightened. This was the moment, the chance to let someone in, to take the risk of being vulnerable again. So she told him. About Ethan. About Sophia. About the betrayal that had cut her to the bone. Her voice shook, but Daniel listened silently, without interruption, without judgment. When she finished, he simply took her hand. Then they don't know what they lost, he said softly. But I know what I've found. Her eyes filled with tears. Not of grief this time, but of hope. Ava had been broken, yes. But she wasn't beyond repair. She was finding love again, not in someone else's choice, but in her own. The day Ava moved into her own apartment overlooking the ocean, she stood on the balcony, wind tangling her hair, heart steady and strong. She wasn't defined by Ethan's betrayal or Sophia's shadow anymore. She was Ava, the woman who had been shattered, but who had rebuilt herself stronger than before. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. You're quiet, he murmured. Just thinking, she replied. For a long time I thought losing Ethan was the end of my story. But it wasn't. No, Daniel said with a smile. It was just the beginning. And as the waves rolled endlessly below, Ava finally believed it. Because love wasn't about being chosen. It was about choosing, bravely, freely, and without regret. And this time she chose herself. As Ava leaned into Daniel's embrace, finally feeling like life had given her a second chance, her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Ethan. It was Sophia. The message was only 5 words, but it made Ava's heart stop. I need you. It's urgent. She tightened her grip on the phone, staring at the glowing screen as the waves crashed below. The peace she had just begun to build trembled under the weight of the unknown. Because sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it comes back knocking.